The year was 1996. Bear Grylls was standing at 16,000 feet, staring at the red light on the plane door. Suddenly, the light turned green. A man opened the door and shouted, "Go! Go! Go!" One by one, Bear's friends jumped out of the plane. Bear, however, was stressed. His legs were cramping, but he took a deep breath, looked down, and finally jumped. But this wasn't just another skydiving adventure. What happened next would change Bear's life forever. Bear and his army friends were on vacation in Africa, enjoying their time in Zimbabwe. They had planned a skydiving trip, and everything seemed to be going smoothly. But as soon as Bear jumped from the plane, tragedy struck. At 200 kilometers per hour, Bear was hurtling toward the ground. 15,000 feet, 10,000 feet, 5,000 feet. In just seconds, he was only 3,000 feet above the ground. He pulled his parachute, but something was wrong. The parachute hadn't opened properly. The ropes were tangled, and Bear was still falling at an alarming speed. He tried to straighten the parachute, but failed. The ground was coming closer, and panic set in. At 16,000 feet, Bear crashed into the ground. The impact was so intense that he bounced like a rag doll and landed in a cloud of dust. He had fallen directly on his back, and the pain was unbearable. It felt like someone had driven a stone into his spine. Bear tried to stand up, but the pain was too much. He was screaming, crying, and surrounded by nothing but desert. Hours later, his friends found him, rushed him to a hospital, and the doctors discovered the devastating truth. Bear's spine was severely injured. 3 of his vertebrae, T10, T11, and T12, were broken. The doctors couldn't guarantee if he would ever walk again. For months, Bear was bedridden, wearing a metal brace to support his back. Even moving an inch was excruciating. He kept replaying the accident in his mind, blaming himself for not handling the parachute properly. But then, something changed. One day, Bear noticed a photo of Mount Everest on his wall. Climbing Everest had always been his dream, shared with his father. But now he couldn't even stand, let alone climb a mountain. Yet Bear made a decision. He dragged himself out of bed, removed the photo from the wall, and said to himself, "No matter what, I will not only walk again, but also climb Mount Everest." Bear's goal seemed impossible. The British Army had sent several missions to Everest, and only one had succeeded. Many climbers had lost their lives or suffered severe injuries, including frostbite and amputations. But Bear was determined. He resigned from the army as his injury made it impossible to continue serving. With no job or income, he faced another challenge: funding the Everest expedition, which cost nearly £50,000. Bear wrote countless letters to companies seeking sponsorship. He was rejected repeatedly, but he didn't give up. Finally, he decided to take matters into his own hands. One day while cycling, he noticed a company named Davis Langdon in Everest. Without hesitation, he walked into their office and convinced the CEO to sponsor his expedition. In March 1998, Bear and his team arrived at the base camp of Everest. The mountain was unforgiving, with a death ratio of 6-to-1. For every 7 climbers, 1 would die. Bear's first attempt ended in disaster. While climbing, he fell into a deep crevasse, dangling by a thin rope. His teammates managed to pull him out, but the incident shattered his confidence. Despite the setback, Bear continued. He climbed to Camp 1, Camp 2, and finally Camp 3. But just as he prepared for the final ascent, he fell seriously ill. A chest infection threatened to end his mission. Bear prayed for a miracle, and it came. The storm that was supposed to hit Everest changed direction, giving him a 2-day window to attempt the summit. Weak but determined, Bear began his final climb. After 52 grueling hours, he reached the death zone at 26,000 feet. The air was thin and the risk of death was high. On May 26, 1998, just 18 months after his near-fatal accident, Bear Grylls stood on the summit of Mount Everest. At 23, he became the youngest British climber to achieve this feat. Bear Grylls had turned the impossible into possible. His story is a testament to the power of resilience, determination, and never giving up. If you found this story inspiring, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more incredible tales of courage and adventure. Let us know in the comments, what's the biggest challenge you've overcome in your life? Until next time, keep pushing your limits.